Hello, I'm Dr. Julie Beto-Schubert. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation for EdVisions. If you remember back to the beginning of when we started, I indicated that this training was laid out in 3 sections. Section 1 was for foundational beliefs and provided a summary of the process. Section 2 included how to facilitate setting a mission. In Section 3, you're going to learn how to facilitate setting the vision. This video has the facilitator slide deck embedded in it. Therefore, some of the slides in this video look different than the facilitator toolkit. The second session that you will be facilitating will actually start with the slide entitled Setting Your Vision Through Shared Leadership. You may want to consider adding your school logo and facilitator information to that page. As you look at the notes within this first slide, notice that it calls for the planning team to adjust their agenda based upon the reflection received from the last session. At this point, the facilitator would communicate the agenda for the session and should allow approximately 2 to 3 minutes. The next slide, you should allow 5 to 10 minutes. The facilitator and planning team would determine appropriate welcome message and introduction protocol. If you don't have a particular protocol, consider inviting each of the stakeholders to identify themselves and their connection to the school. Please allow 5 to 10 minutes for this slide. Also notice within the note-taking section, there are planning team notes on the work that needs to happen prior to the start of this second session. The facilitator should communicate the planning team's definition of shared leadership and personalized learning. On this slide, you will find the personalized learning definition we previously spoke about. You also need to communicate your findings regarding community beliefs and needs. There is some pre-work that is involved with the use of this slide. You're going to want to create 4 chart papers, and each paper should have a draft of the mission statement and 1 essential question per page. You need to post those throughout the room. Also, make sure you copy and paste the mission statement that you agreed to onto this slide. You're going to instruct the participants to use the post-it notes to add their comments and thoughts. Also instruct them to review the comments and thoughts of others. Notify the stakeholders that a smaller group of people will be reviewing the comments and thoughts to revise the mission statement. This statement will be presented at a later date, and the planning team should provide a date and meeting time in which this will occur. You're going to allow approximately 2 minutes for this slide. You're going to ask a stakeholder volunteer to read the statement out loud and at your table how this statement might be important to our school. Please allow approximately 5 minutes for this slide. You're going to use the previous statement as a segue into the vision development. You're going to communicate a vision statement is a goal or common direction for growth that inspires all to do better. It also communicates to stakeholders the direction based upon values and beliefs of all stakeholders in which the school is headed. It also identifies imminent changes. It is important to note that this may cause stress within the stakeholders. Therefore, it's essential to make sure extensive stakeholder input is obtained when developing a vision statement. You'll want to communicate creating a vision statement must be done with extensive stakeholder input to address common obstacles such as fear of change and using a top-down approach as opposed to a shared leadership approach. In step 1 for collecting perspectives for a vision, you're going to need to do some pre-planning work, which would include obtaining 4 pieces of chart paper where you write 1 essential question per page. What is our compelling future? What must we become to realize our future? What do we need to do to achieve our future? And how are we different than other schools? After reviewing the essential questions, ask stakeholders to use the sticky notes to record 1 idea per sticky note. The facilitator then invites the participants to post their ideas on the corresponding chart papers and then take a break. The facilitator and supporting team members categorize the sticky notes into like ideas during that break. This slide, including the break, should be about 20 minutes long. With this slide in step 2, you're going to have the participants share big ideas, values, and beliefs. You're going to begin by inviting stakeholders to review the affinity categories of ideas found on the chart paper in the form of a gallery walk. You will allow 3 to 5 minutes for this portion of the activity. Participants should go from chart paper to chart paper. The facilitator will then invite the stakeholders to suggest big ideas that come from the affinity categories found on poster 1. All ideas are recorded as potential headings of the categories. Repeat this for each of the pieces of chart paper. In step 3, you're actually going to draft a vision statement together. There is pre-work that's needed. You'll want to create a Venn diagram as shown on this slide that includes the big ideas, the beliefs, the draft vision, and the values. For each group, create a chart paper with the Venn diagram as shown on this slide. You're going to ask the participants to get into groups of 3 to 5, and once again, make sure they have a diverse set of stakeholder roles within each group. Instruct the group to select a recorder and a reporter. Ask the groups to use the chart paper, the big ideas from the brainstorming session, and any other new thoughts they may have to complete the red circle, big ideas, blue circle, values, and green circle, beliefs. Instruct the group to then focus on the intersection of the red, blue, and green circle to pull together a vision statement that contains their most important key points. It is okay if there are multiple draft vision statements created from each group, and encourage the groups to use other space on the chart if necessary. In step 4, you're going to share initial statements for the vision. One at a time, ask the reporters from each group to share their draft vision statements written on their chart paper. After everyone is finished, give each participant 3 dots. Have the stakeholders place their dots next to the statement that most resonates with them, and then take a break. During the break, the facilitators and team members are going to identify the top 3 to 5 vision statements. Also during break, you should then add those statements to the next slide. Finally, step 5, revision of the vision statement. Once again, make sure you have the top 3 to 5 statements added to this slide, and you're going to ask the stakeholders to read the statements aloud. Ask stakeholders to respond to the 2 essential questions in a whole group setting. Those questions being, what do you notice and what resonates with you? Record those responses. At that point, you're going to ask permission for a small group of stakeholders to take today's work to create a vision statement that could be shared at a future date. The facilitator should provide the date or meeting in which this will occur. This will be the last slide in your facilitator slide deck. You'll allow approximately 5 to 10 minutes for this slide. Pose these 3 questions for reflection. Collect the responses and use them to adjust the next session as needed.